सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
What exactly is Modi government trying to do with higher education in this country? So there are several aspects of this issue. One is what the Modi government is trying to do at the central level. That we'll come to. The other is what governors appointed by the Modi government in the states are doing, because that is the issue right now which is making the headlines. It's in courts right now. If you saw the newspapers today, one of the top headlines was the fact that the Supreme Court judges were really irate with the Tamil Nadu governors. He's been sitting on some bills sent to him for approval for his affirmation by the state government. 11 of these bills are sitting with him. Most of them have to have something to do with higher education. So I will come to that. I will talk about that in detail, because at the same time, some of this is playing out in Kerala. Again, an opposition as an opposition to the central government in Delhi. An opposition-run state, West Bengal, also an opposition-run state. So similar stories playing out there as well. I will tell you the details in a minute. But before that, also see what the Prime Minister has been saying about his view on higher education. And then see how the government's actions then square as compared to this. I'm not one to give you any opinion on this right now. When I give you opinion, I specify it. I'm just laying out the facts for you. Because you see a lot of headlines, you will see a lot of claims, counterclaims, occasionally TV debates, because they don't have time for complex things like this, right? They might as well do their usual Hindu-Muslim stuff, which is simple, or what went wrong in Ahmedabad on the day of the final. That besides, I think this is something that they do not see that much interest in. So I'm giving you the facts. As you can see, the issues we are talking about are very, very serious. At the end of this, however, I will tell you a political story as well. And that's a political story about CM Ibrahim, a former information and broadcasting and civil aviation minister under then Prime Minister Deve Gowda. And he's in news right now. At the end of this episode, I will tell you a story about him. And it's a quintessential story of Indian politics. And I'm sure it will leave you smiling. So stay on with me. So the Prime Minister himself, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, on September 7, 2020, at the inaugural session of the Governors' Conference on National Education Policy. As you would remember, Modi government came up with a national education policy, which we praised, which we endorsed editorially, almost unqualifiedly, which was watched a lot. I will again share a link with you. You can see that and you can check it out. So this was a very comprehensive and very progressive national education policy. While discussing this, the Prime Minister, speaking at the inaugural session of the Governors' Conference on National Education Policy, said, and I quote from the Prime Minister's speech, "The education policy and the education system are an important means of fulfilling the aspirations of the country. The central and the state governments, as well as local bodies, all have responsibility for the education system." Once again, I repeat this because it's important. The central and the state governments, as well as local bodies, all have responsibility for the education system. But it is also true that the government's interference or intervention in education policy should be minimal. The Prime Minister's words, should be minimal. And then he goes on to say, and I quote again, "Just as the foreign policy or defense policy are the policies of the country, not of the government, so is the education policy. It belongs to the country." And thereby, he urged a collective responsibility in implementing the policy. Now, if he had all these governors with him, governors were representing the states. Now, education is something which is a concurrent subject. So central government has a certain role in education, particularly higher education. State governments have their own role and their own powers as well. For example, state governments can set up universities, they can set up government-run universities. or they can recognize private universities. And in many cases, for a private university, for each private university, a state government passes a law. So if for lovely professional universities, say in Punjab, there is a lovely professional university act. I'm only looking at universities which I might know in the neighborhood, I might be more familiar with. But if you look at any university in any of India's states, the state government has passed a law. So these are laws that state governments can pass, and these universities can be set up. These are private universities. On the other hand, government-run universities or government-funded universities, there, the state government has a role. The central government, where the central government funds them or the UGC funds them, they have a role, but where the state government funds them, they have a role. This is where the disputes coming in. So we are first talking about that because that pertains to what's happening in Supreme Court right now with the Tamil Nadu government there saying that we have these bills pending with the governor of Tamil Nadu now for a long time. In fact, 11 bills are pending with him. 2 of these were given to him, sent to him in 2020. Now 2023 is ending in 2020. So 2 of the 11 in 2020, 7 of the 11 in 2022, and 2 of the 11 in 2023. So these 11 bills are pending. So Supreme Court judges sounded irritable, and there was a comment, what was the governor doing for 3 years? Was he sleeping? Now the problem with our courts is sometimes, and it's a criticism that I have had, and so I'm only repeating what I've been writing, that very often our courts, instead of giving orders, write editorials. So editorials, I'm not being self-deprecatory, or maybe I am. Editorials means you say this should be the perfect world, right? This is what everybody should do. Nobody takes editorial seriously, sadly. If people took our editorial seriously, maybe it will be a perfect world. I'm smirking, so I'm laughing at myself. I'm not being serious. I'm not that pompous. So the courts, on the other hand, do not have to give advice or do not need to tell people what is the correct thing to do. They have to order them to do it. And that is my opinion, which has been repeated many times. I am once again underlining the same opinion to you, not bringing anything new. So the Supreme Court in this case said they were impatient. Why is the governor sitting on these bills for 3 years? We will see what orders come from the court finally. We are today looking on the other hand at what these bills are and what is the state government wanting to do and what is the point of contestation. So state government's view is that when we have set up these universities, we are paying their expenses, or these are our universities. Governor being the chancellor is something that the state willed it to be. Because once again, if I take you back to how universities came to have chancellors in India. So initially, Calcutta University, the Calcutta University, Governor General of Calcutta, at that time Governor General was the boss of the empire. So Governor General automatically became the Chancellor of Calcutta University. Following that, Madras and Bombay, they became presidencies in British times. So there also the governor became the chancellor of the universities. Thereafter, as India became independent, other states as they came into being, as they grew, states set up their own universities. And the states then passed their own laws. Each state passed its own law laying out that the governor of the state will be the chancellor or the visitor to the universities in the state. So this is a power given to the office of the governor by the states themselves by passing these laws, these specific laws. What the states are now doing or saying, and these are obviously non-BJP states, these states are saying if we states had the power to pass laws to give chancellorship of our universities to the governor, it follows that we should also have the power to again pass a law taking away this power from the governor and appointing chancellors of our own. West Bengal, for example, came up with the law which said the governor will no longer be the chancellor, but the chief minister will be the chancellor of the university. So that is the point of contention. In case of Tamil Nadu, the bills generally are meant to dilute the governor's power. Now, the irony is that bills, what are these bills modeled on? Details of all the laws and what's going on in Supreme Court. All of this I've got from Bhadra Sinha, who heads the coverage of law and courts for us. And also, once again, I'm giving you on education, higher education in this case, has come from Saurabh Roy Burman, again, one of my young colleagues. And she underlines to me the very interesting point that the references that the Tamil Nadu government's petition in the Supreme Court contains are references to a law in Gujarat. This is the Gujarat Universities Act 1949. And they are saying, look, we are only doing what Gujarat Universities Act of 1949 already has. So if it's okay for Gujarat, if it's kosher for Gujarat, why isn't it kosher for us in Tamil Nadu? Also, they draw from Telangana Universities Act 1991. Now, immediate question in my mind, 1991, there was no Telangana, but obviously this is an act that they inherited from Andhra Pradesh, from combined Andhra Pradesh, and renamed it for themselves. Again, they refer to Karnataka State Universities Act of 2000, which has a variation. While Tamil Nadu's act and Gujarat's and Telangana's before that, while those acts gave those states the power to appoint their vice chancellor, the Karnataka law, Karnataka State Universities Act of 2000, says that chancellor can appoint vice chancellors to state universities, but only with concurrence of the state government. Now, the laws that Tamil Nadu has pending with the governor, that is a long list, and I will quickly read it off for you. It will also run on your screen, and I will also share with you a link of Bhadra Sinha's story on this, which has the entire list. So I'll just read the list to you, and you know what I'm getting at. So number 1, Tamil Nadu Fisheries University Act 2012. This is obviously an amendment. Tamil Nadu Veterinary and Animal Sciences University Act of 1989. Again, obviously an amendment. Tamil Nadu, and you will ask me what these amendments could be, and I will tell you a juicy little fact. Third, the Tamil Nadu University Laws Amendments Act, and this amends 12 university laws covered under this act. Then the Madras University Act 1923, the Tamil Nadu Dr. Ambedkar Law University Act 1996, then the Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University Chennai Act 1987, the Tamil Nadu Agriculture University Act 1971, and the Tamil University Act 1982. One more bill is pending with the governor, and that bill was sent on 5th of May 2022. That has also to do with education, but that's a bit different. That's a bill which, once it becomes a law, will then lead to the setting up of an Ayush university in the state. All of this is pending with the governor. Now, these are the problems that Tamil Nadu has. Look at some of the other problems, and they are very similar, and that's when I will come to the juicy fact that I promised that I will tell you. Now, Kerala is also in Supreme Court. Kerala passed a law. Kerala Assembly passed a law. Kerala, the University Laws Amendment Bill 2022. This was passed in December 22. Similarly, West Bengal, I mentioned that just a while back, University Laws Amendment Bill. What happens in these cases is Kerala Bill, Tamil Nadu Bill, and West Bengal Bill. Essentially, what each one of these does is it takes away the governor as the default chancellor of the universities in the state. Now, think about it. All these bills are going to the governor. He has to sign these bills. If he signs these bills passed by the state assembly, legitimately elected state assembly with a full majority, so he's morally, you might say, he's morally bound to pass this. At least there is a moral and constitutional argument in a federal system with an elected assembly that he should sign these bills. But if he signs this bill, basically he's signing orders to fire himself or herself as chancellor of these universities. That's a tough thing for anybody in authority to do, most of all for somebody holding constitutional, political or executive power in India. Usually in India, once you have a kursi, it takes a great deal of effort to dislodge the person from a kursi, from a chair when they have it. In this case, the persons themselves sitting on the highest constitutional chair in a state have to sign these bills. If they sign these bills, firing themselves from one position of authority, from one chair at least, that is the chancellor of universities in the state. In West Bengal, this has become more complicated because the West Bengal law, Governor Jagdeep Dhankar, when he was the governor, now is Vice President of India, he had withheld it. He had refused to sign it. after this, the governor C.V. Ananda Bose has not only continued to sit on these, but he has also appointed interim vice chancellors to 6 of these state universities, which the state government is opposing. So that's become a real crisis in West Bengal, and you can imagine what's happening to these universities now. Now the state's out of the way, let us also look at some of the other interventions that the central government is making in higher education. For example, Tamil Nadu is at war with the central government over the question of NEET. NEET, as we know, see the full form on your screen. NEET is the admission test through which students are admitted or candidates are admitted to all the medical colleges in India. Tamil Nadu is opposing this. Tamil Nadu says this is unfair to non-English medium students or non-English medium applicants. In their case, applicants who come from Tamil medium schools and colleges and Tamil medium education system from smaller towns, from more modest, humble backgrounds. And they say that this system, the NEET system, privileges the already privileged. Why? Because the already privileged candidates from richer families, well-to-do families, one, they can afford to pay for coaching, so they come coached, while students from poorer families cannot take coaching. Coaching is very expensive. And second, students from privileged families, richer families can afford to take multiple chances. So whatever the maximum number of chances allowed at any point of time, a student coming from a well-to-do family or a better off family is in a position to take multiple attempts. Whereas a student from a poorer family, if they fail to make it the first time, they have to go and do something, maybe start earning a living, maybe open a shop or something. And this way, the NEET system, the Tamil Nadu government claims, works against poorer students. So Tamil Nadu government, to look at the NEET problem, had set up a committee under a Madras High Court judge, A.K. Rajan, in June 2021. That committee had given a report which showed that NEET gave disproportionate benefit to repeater candidates. But what I explained to you just now, the candidates who can appear more than once. I fail now, I will appear again, I fail again, I can appear again, whatever the maximum number of chances allowed at any point of time. Whereas people from poorer families can't do it. So 71% of the students selected in NEET in 2021 were repeater candidates. That's the number that Rajan committee came up with. Similarly, it benefited those who had private coaching. So 99% of all those selected in 2020 were coached students. So this was discrimination against the poor who could not repeat their attempts and who also could not afford coaching. Also, the committee found that with the introduction of NEET, the induction from backward districts of Tamil Nadu, districts like Ariyalur, Perambalur had really fallen. That is the other aspect where the dispute is on. And at the same time, you also see what the central government is trying to do with IITs and IIMs. IIT is a simpler issue. Government now wants to have one common test for all engineering colleges in the country, whether it's IITs or whatever else. As I understand now, there is a JEE main and there is a JEE advanced. So the idea is that there should be one system. The IITs are resisting it because they say, if you do this, you are diluting our brand. But under this government, I don't know how long will the IITs be able to resist it. Also, I don't know how long even the IITs boards, however eminent they might be, will be able to resist it. Remember that in 2015, someone as eminent as Professor Anil Kakotkar, former chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission, he had resigned in a huff as chairman of Board of Governors of IIT Bombay because he said there was interference in the selection process of the director. In fact, after that, I had recorded a walk the talk with him in Bombay University campus. I'll share a link with you. You can see that, and you can also see the pain in his voice. On IIMs, again, 2017, we all welcomed it, even we did, unqualifiedly, when Modi government came up with a new law giving autonomy to the boards of Indian Institutes of Management. That action was pretty much in keeping with the spirit of what Prime Minister Modi said at that governors conference in 2020 that I quoted from in the very beginning. But 2023, there was an amendment to this law. This was the Indian Institutes of Management Amendment Bill. And this is something which again we had featured in a full episode of Karta Tutter. You will see a link of that as well, where many of these powers were taken away. And what were the new amendments introduced? The president was now given the power to appoint the chairperson of the Board of Governors after this amendment. And also, under the 2017 law, the director was picked by the Board of Governors out of a panel recommended by the search committee. So Board of Governors could pick one of them. Now that has to happen with prior approval of the president. Last week, the rules following this amendment were modified, and these rules now also empower the president to dissolve the Board of Governors of any IIM at any point of time. So once again, autonomy, instead of being enhanced, is now being taken away. In the middle of all this, work is on something called the Higher Education Commission of India bill. If this comes into place, then this will be one regulator, one single regulator in the country regulating all higher institutions, that is all IITs, all IIMs, Indian Institute of Science, etc., etc., which means, and engineering, which means that UGC and AICTE, which today regulates engineering and technical institutions, both will be dissolved, and there will be one supreme single point regulator in the country. Once again, you can be quite sure that this will be resisted, one, by many states and also by many in public debate, who will see it as centralization of authority over what should have been autonomous institutions, and where autonomy was actually held out and underlined as a most important attribute by the Prime Minister himself. In the middle of all this mess over a debate over higher education, something else is coming up, something came up and then flickered away. And that was the idea by National Medical Council, which was a bit like allocating medical seats or medical colleges according to a state's population. So if Bihar's population is much more than Tamil Nadu's, and Bihar should have many more medical colleges, and Tamil Nadu should stop setting up more medical colleges. So this was really taking jiski jitni abadi, uska utna hak, to a completely irrational extreme. So all of this stuff is floating right now in our higher education. Education is something that's very important for Indians, particularly for aspirational Indians, their parents, etc. They think that competitions to these institutions are their one fair chance of breaking out of wherever they might be stuck economically and socially. And they know that higher education is their one opportunity, that fair, robustly fair, brutally fair admission process, entrance process to these institutions, and the autonomous way in which these are run. That is their one ticket, one opportunity of breaking out of whatever social or economic morass they might be in. And that's why this has become such a controversial and such a contentious issue. Now the story about CM Ibrahim. CM Ibrahim has just been suspended, thrown out by Deve Gowda, by the Deve Gowda family from their party JDS, because he opposed JDS's alliance with the BJP. There's an article about him that we published, written by Sharan Pavana, our correspondent in Bangalore. Please see that article. I'll share a link with you. When Deve Gowda became the unlikely Prime Minister of India, he made CM Ibrahim, who was his trusted young lieutenant from Karnataka, he made him his Information and Broadcasting Minister and also gave him his Civil Aviation Ministry. So that was the time that Praveen Jain, who's currently our photo editor at ThePrint, and Praveen Jain is the finest political photojournalist in the country for decades now. So Praveen Jain discovered that Deve Gowda, everybody knew that he falls asleep at meetings and things, but Praveen would have his eye out. So he would catch Deve Gowda sleeping at some meeting or the other almost twice a week. And those pictures would get published in the newspaper, in the Indian Express. You can actually see many of those pictures, many of those Praveen Jain pictures on the walls of the print office as well. And so some of those will run on my screen as I talk. So Deve Gowda could be asleep anywhere, in a public meeting, in a formal function, any place. I envy him also, because many people struggle to go to sleep even at night, but he could go to sleep at any point of time. That's when CM Ibrahim once called me and he said, "Shekhar ji, can you come and have some tea with me?" So I went to have tea with him. He was the Information and Broadcasting Minister. And he said to me, why are you harassing the Prime Minister? Just because he falls asleep a few times, why does a photographer keep taking his pictures? I said, but he's the Prime Minister. If he falls asleep at a public function, what will a photographer do if not take a picture? And what will an editor do if not publish it? So same Ibrahim said, Shekhar ji, ab uska problem samajhiye, understand his problem. From 9 in the morning until 9 at night, he's the Prime Minister of India. Then he comes home, he has his dinner, that's 10 o'clock. From 10 at night to 12 midnight, he's the Chief Minister of Karnataka. From 12 midnight to 2 a.m., he's the District Magistrate or Collector of Hasun. That is where his constituency, etc. are. Then he tries to sleep. By 5 o'clock, he has to wake up because then he does his yoga and his puja, etc. Then he has his breakfast. Then it's 8 o'clock and it's time for him to go to office and become Prime Minister of India. So when does he have the time to sleep? To which my answer only could have been, so obviously, because he doesn't get the time to sleep at night because of all this, he sleeps at work as Prime Minister. I just thought because the context was there, because the mauka was available, I should tell you this story as well.